Welcome to RCast, the official podcast to the RChain Cooperative. RChain is a complete, concurrent blockchain platform designed for maximum efficiency at minimal computational and environmental costs by utilizing proof of stake. Beyond our platform, our investment partner, Reflective Ventures, funds organizations that are working within our core mission statement to create a better world by enabling social coordination in robust, secure, and scalable ways. I'm Derek Barris, the Director of Content for RChain. Each week on RCast, I'll be talking with the founders of our portfolio companies, as well as co-op members, staff, and other figures in the RChain ecosystem about the most pressing issues in blockchain today. Please check out rchain.coop to learn more about the platform, our community, validator sale, and information on becoming a member. One of the biggest reasons some of my friends don't own a car is due to car insurance. Between paying for a lease, gas, and insurance, they are able to save money by taking a rideshare service everywhere they need to go. Now, imagine if, like when you rent a car, you can opt in for insurance only at certain moments in your life, like, say, during sporting events. And this is the basis of Reshore. As COO Gautam Pedibotla explains in this RCast, he was struck with this idea by a whale shark. Literally. During his last snorkel dive in Mexico, he was struck by this creature. When he woke up in the emergency room hours later, an epiphany dawned on him. Reshore is targeting youth sporting events as a primary first market. Instead of worrying about high premiums and deductibles encountered in everyday life, what if you can insure your child for $1 an hour or $5 an event? Pedibotla believes this will not replace the insurance industry, but instead offer an add-on for high-risk situations. And, as he explains, insurance companies are listening, as they were the source of the company's initial investment. As with a few previous RCasts, this was recorded almost a year ago by Blind Acre as part of the marketing drive, so I've taken the audio from that and am using it to explain some of the exciting portfolio companies we have building on RChain. Unlike most of the podcasts, this one was recorded live, so in the beginning you'll hear some ambient noise, and it'll get a little loud in the first question, but it dies down after, and I think it's well worth having a little patience through that, because this is a fascinating use case of where blockchain will really thrive and help people take better control of their health and health care. Interview begins discussing the goals of Reshore.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the Mexico story comes in, right? So I ended up going for a snorkeling dive, 4 hours. It was a last-minute thing. Me and my girlfriend at the time, we wanted to do, and we went down there. Everything was great, the first 3.5 hours, and then I ended up making my last jump, the last jump of the day for everybody, and I got hit by a whale shark, and it opened up my hand. It took, obviously I had to get out of the water. Fast forward to finding the cure facility and urgent care, getting an orthopedic surgeon. It cost about, let's say $1,000 all in, which is, not bad compared to US prices. But then my thought was that I paid I had good insurance at the time, but my deductible was like $5,000. So then the idea was that, okay, so here's this $1,000 that I paid out of my pocket, unexpected expense for just doing something last minute. And what if somebody had told me that there's an opportunity to buy $5 worth of insurance? So should anything happen over that 4-hour window, you would get either you would get reimbursed or somebody would pay on your behalf. And that's what was the genesis, because I've played sports all my life. I get hurt, and especially in the US, I've never had the insurance company step in and pay on my behalf, because the deductibles are always higher. By choice, because I'm a healthy guy, I never ended up buying the Cadillac plans. I ended up buying the plans that saved me monthly cash outflow.
Absolutely. With higher deductibles.
I had the deductibles and the higher premium. So the idea was that, okay, so these are going up, double digits every year. Healthcare is not getting cheaper here, but that's also restricting people from participating in activities. Well, one, even if they have healthcare, it's still a burden, especially on families with young kids who want their kids to be active. But on the flip side, you have a slew of people who don't have health care, especially with the ACA being revamped now. And so when that happens, and even with the ACA, you've got like $20,000 deductibles in some cases. It really comes down to what is affordable. So it's literally like catastrophe insurance, yet you're out of pocket a lot of money. So, and then that curtails your activity, because in sports, typically young kids, when they get hurt the first time, its parents have to bear the expense, and about quarter to 1/3 of the time, nobody comes back to play the sport again. So it's a lot of angst. It's like, okay, what if the child gets hurt again? So what we wanted to do was give them the opportunity, and so we recognized that and said, okay, what if for $5 some event, let's say, or $1 an hour, you could get up to, let's say, $2,000-3,000 of support. It's not 100%, but at least it gives you that first dollar out, and then you can still plan the balance of it. So that was the genesis kind of what we are doing at Reshore.
Next, he discusses what other insurance companies think about this idea of insuring per hour or event.
So we are actually funded. Our pre-seed capital came from the insurance industry. So, so the insurance industry recognized that there is this opportunity to provide a new product suite and earn new revenue. Because they're challenged for revenue today.
Yeah,
and
even
so
though they continue to grow their health costs year over year.
Correct, but it's not just the health insurance, it's really the traditional insurance companies, the life and health and the PNC guys, those are the ones that are more excited. Because for them it's a new source of revenue, it fits into their model of picking up risk, and it's not unlimited, what we would call a normal distribution, and you have these fat tail risks, so people are insuring against these big events, life, a death or a dismemberment or something major, an accident, a car accident, which creates an outflow from the insurance company of millions of dollars basically. Here we are controlling it by saying for just 90 minutes of a soccer game, for $1, let's say, hypothetically, there's $5,000 of coverage available. So should an incident happen or a claim be made, it's one $5,000 check written and done.
Yep.
There's nothing beyond that. So it's a quick transactional element. And the insurance companies like that because they don't have to carry the risk beyond a point, and now they're getting revenue as well. And so they love the concept, and they gave us, basically they funded us on a PowerPoint.
Now he compares insurance to ride-sharing services.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we are building towards, along with the sports piece, because sports is so ubiquitous here in the US. It's part of everyday culture, right? Everyday life. On an average, it's a social activity. It's the family activity. It's the parents like it because they get to be relive their glory days, I suppose, at some level. But puberty is expensive on everybody. So, but when we do take that and we then translate it into the ride share, like the bike share world, we are working on that program as well. That was one of our original use cases. But in that, it's a little different. We insure the asset value, so we insure the bike and the injury. So we do both.
Yeah.
Right. And so once we can test it out in that continuous utilization mode, then we can transition to the larger scale of cars and Airbnbs, and because those risks are greater with a greater premium, but need bigger balance sheets to carry.
And there's a lot of intangibles that you're opening yourself up to.
Right. And the insurance companies a lot of them don't want to take the risk. Some do. And there are some people doing it, but we didn't want to do that.
Mass scale right now.
Yeah, it's not. We are not ready, and neither is the market ready.
Yeah.
How about the biggest hurdles to starting such a company?
Capital always, right?
Yeah.
Capital begets resources. Resources beget the company itself. But I think the biggest was. It's interesting. Everybody we've spoken with. Everybody loves it, from the insurance executives. I mean, the accelerator put us in front of 100 plus individuals in 100 different insurance-related activities in different companies in 3 weeks' time. So we got validation right out of the gate.
Yes, that's huge.
Then from the
like a whole ecosystem of support.
Right,
that you need to have.
because it's the only insurance-focused accelerator. It's called Global Insurance Accelerator. It's in Des Moines.
Okay.
And we're part of the 2017 cohort. But coming out of there, we obviously had to build and validate and all of that. And then from April of last year, 2016, right? No, 2017, sorry, to exactly April of this year when we eventually got funded by RVP in June. I think the biggest challenge was obviously finding the right insurance partners who would work with us to understand this and then support us throughout the time frame. Because it's not like a product you can build it in 30, 60, 90 days. It's a constant, like, it's a long haul.
Absolutely.
So from there, to find the right insurance partners, to find the right business partners, because we are a B2B2C place, so we place it with the businesses.
Yeah.
So you have to find people who are willing to take that risk. So the first movers, that was the next hurdle. And now I guess the last step, I wouldn't say hurdle, but the last step is to get the insurance regulators, because the insurance world is so highly regulated and every state has its own insurance regulator. There are 50 states and 5 territories and DC, so there's 56 jurisdictions we need approval in to bring this to life. So this next step is to get all those 56 states on board. So we've been making progress between the time when we got funded to now, where we've initiated and would be pretty close to Texas, Michigan, Iowa, Nebraska.
Okay.
So some of the core Midwest states, really.
Those are great use cases,
Yeah.
because you get a good variety of people,
Correct,
right? Just
correct.
like life circumstance.
Yeah, and then different sporting, like in Nebraska and Iowa, hockey is pretty big.
Okay.
Football is pretty big, obviously. So when we want to transition into those bigger stuff, whereas in Texas, everything is played in Texas, right? And it's one of the biggest markets. Michigan, a little more on the soccer, hockey, and football too. We're working with Rhode Island as well as Oklahoma.
Cool.
As well. So so we're trying. Eventually come down to the commissioners, what they're comfortable with, what they want us. They'll give us feedback. We'll probably change. We have to change stuff because otherwise we can't get
That's
to the
your
market.
market. You gotta keep them happy.
Yeah. And so that is probably our kind of final step. Once we get that, then it's a question of just build, and sell.
Now on to the competitive advantage of Reshore.
Innovation on the product and innovation on the technology. We always wanted to leverage the distributed ledger tech, because part of the beauty of that is that it can prevent fraud. It can help control the fraud element. And in this context, creating trust in a trustless environment, what they traditionally say about distributed ledger, or blockchain as they call it, is that I can't trust everybody who's at the final level. Like, I don't even know them. I have no contact with them. Traditionally, insurance has been sold through the agent. So an agent will come to you, sit down with you, and the agent's fiduciary responsibility is to you, but they get paid commission by the insurance company. So there is that human element of where the commissions are more.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants to sell a $5 policy. They do want to sell a $300 policy per month, because that's $3,600. And if they get 10%, that's $360.
Yeah.
But at $5 a month, that's $60 a month, and 10% of that is only $6.
Yeah.
You're not going to make a living out of $6 versus $360, right?
Yeah.
And they have no bandwidth of scaling that. You need 60 times more people to talk to, and that you can't do individually. So that's where the tech comes in, right? That low cost and high scale. And
seamless onboarding.
Correct, right. And so we don't necessarily need to then, we are our own agent agency. So we would not outsource any of this. Because even the insurance companies don't want us to tap into the traditional pipeline of agents. Because they've specifically said, who's selling this? And we've said, we are. I said, good. That's not the only time they want to work with us.
Okay. So this is like a SaaS play.
Pure SaaS play.
Okay.
It's a monthly subscription play eventually. Well, when we get there, that's what our expectation is.
Takes a few moments to discuss his relationship with Reflective Ventures and RChain.
Right, and so as we were just saying about the transactional element, right? This is highly transactional and low cost. So when we were evaluating all our other technologies, like we looked at Hyperledger and Solidity and Ethereum and what have you, right? Corda. The transactional costs just were not there. The transactional efficiency wasn't there, and then the cost parameters we would be upside down from day one, basically.
Yeah.
And so that was what, when we got introduced to our chain, that was our interest. Is it intrigued me purely from a scale and cost perspective. And today, I think the average size of by minute transactions is roughly about 25, 30. I mean, people are parsing that. And assuming that our chain can get to even half of what their expectation is, that's huge for us, right? I mean, that's 20,000 to 40,000 transactions a second. That's a massive number, which is what and which also then makes it makes it very cost efficient. And that's what we're looking for. Because if you visualize a world where you are maybe driving a bike, but then you switch it, you drop the bike out at a station, you pick up the train, from the train station you catch an Uber. Uber drops you off to the closest place where you pick up another bike and get to work, and then vice versa. All your risks are changing, and all of this has to be tracked, and you have to be covered, assuming that you've subscribed with me, you have to be covered for different risks, for different durations over that period of time. And how do you do that efficiently? And all that data collection and validating that data is what we expect.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we plan to do. So you could go snorkeling, you could buy the policy here, snorkel off the coast of Fiji for all I care. As long as we're tied up in Fiji to deliver you coverage with the local insurance company and we have that approval, you're good to go. So if something happens to you and you get care down there, we'll provide you the support.
That's
down
big for
there.
just travelers in general.
Right. And
Just like what you got to deal with.
Yes, personal, yeah. So it's coming from that personal piece is I shouldn't have had to worry about pulling $1,000 out. I should have been able to just report my injury, and somebody at the back end should have been able to cover it. Assuming they had the coverage available. So that's kind of where we are even tying up with insurance companies in other countries. To run these. One of our partners is a global insurance company, it's the world's largest. So, we have access. Access is not an issue anymore.
Awesome.
So it's just a question of, execution.
Some interesting thoughts on the build and how that process is going.
We didn't build anything yet because we don't want to preempt the commissioner's approvals because, you can always build. In our case, tech is just an enabler of delivery and service. The product essentially is the insurance product. So, to that point, the company has evolved. We, as people have evolved, the team is no longer the same that started it because we've kind of had to pivot a little and evolve with what we've been exposed to and resources. And then obviously the product definition has changed slightly. Because as you gain more experience, you learn that some things might just not be functionally possible today. They might be a version 2.0, 3.0 kind of a thing. So you evaluate all of that and then you kind of just plug away. That's about it. Persistency beats talent every day.
And now for some advice for entrepreneurs who are thinking of starting a blockchain insurance company.
Don't try to do this. I'm going bald because no, I'm just kidding. It's I think the biggest thing that I would find is people are receptive to this. I mean, they get it. Everybody gets it. Everybody knows and recognizes the issue. It affects everybody. It affects all of us. We may say that, I can afford it, sure, but do you want to spend, I was giving an example to somebody last night, companies out there insuring your skis. So you go down a ski slope and you have an accident, you break your skis, right? Rental or personal. Okay, fine, you're out of pocket a couple of $100, $500, let's say. But you've probably broken a bone, right? Which means that you need emergency care, which means a helicopter has to show up to take you off the slope. Well, the moment you get into that helicopter, the moment it takes off, your tab has started because no insurance product, even health insurance, covers ambulances, land, sea, or air, it doesn't matter. So by the time that tab comes to you after the fact, so now they've taken you to the emergency room, you've gone through that experience, and now you leave. You put yourself on a cast and you leave. You'll get two bills. One is you'll get your deductible bill, which is, let's say, probably $5,000. and your air ambulance is probably another $5,000. So you're paying, let's say, a monthly fee of $10 to protect your $500 investment.
Yeah.
But what if I told you to pay me $10 when you buy the ticket to protect a $10,000 expense? Which would be more value for money?
Yeah. The cost benefit of that is definitely like
Right.
$10. It's risk,
Correct.
risk assessment.
So that's kind of where the validity is every day. Every day we talk to people, different walks of life, different types of people, and it makes sense. So I think from a reception point of view, that's not an issue. Obviously, the insurance companies like it because they're helping us build everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest risk would be adoption. We don't know how the consumer is going to react. So that's what we want to find out.
And finally, some speculation on where healthcare and insurance is heading on chain.
Yeah, and that's where the evolution will happen, right? We don't know today, what that looks like. Mm-hmm. We don't know who can carry that risk. We don't know what the size of the risk is. We don't know what the potential cost benefit of premium versus coverage. So our expectation is to start generating. These data sets don't exist. Mm-hmm. Anywhere in the world today. They're anecdotal and they're maybe small data sets, but they're just not there for scale. And insurance is big risk pools. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is understand this and then say, okay, what is a tweak we can add? Maybe we need to take something away and add something back in to still maintain and give value to the consumer. I know that the ambulance is an immediate value, right? Bandages, even if it's $10-20, it's something they don't have to worry about. X-rays, right? Fractures, so stills, appendages, that kind of stuff. So appliances, canes, crutches. These add up.
Yeah.
It's every time you're spending like a couple $100, it's like not everybody can afford that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're trying to get at that first level, is that the practical stuff. Then we can come back and say, okay, this was not utilized. Maybe it's different for different parts of the states. Right? Maybe Washington has a different risk profile than Texas, which will happen. Yeah. So we'll recognize all of that, and then we could potentially price it accordingly. Mm-hmm. Maybe we need to throw something more in to give more value. So that's the evolution. Yeah. Maybe we give the protection for income. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Whether it's real or not, somebody is willing to pick it up. I don't know that answer because there's workers' compensation laws. It gets complicated. Yeah. So we don't know, but we have an opportunity.